Hi, welcome once again to M5's English language learning program, Let's Speak English. I'm Gav Duncan and I'm here on your TV to help you learn English. Now, are you sitting comfortably? Yes? Good! And are you ready for today's lesson? Yes? Good! Okay, well, let's learn English together. And hello again, everyone. Hello and welcome. Welcome once more to another day of English. Well, I say day, but that's not really accurate, is it? I mean, we all know that a day consists of, a day is made up of, a day is composed of a certain number of hours, 25. No, sorry, 24. We all know that. And we also know that if someone tried to study English for 24 hours a day, then that would be extremely tiring for them. So when I say, welcome to another day of English, what I'm actually saying is welcome to another daily 15-minute session of English, not welcome to another 24 hours of English study. That would be mad. So, welcome to another session of English. Welcome back. Welcome to the studio. Welcome to the place where the lights are bright and the temperature is never lower than extremely bloody hot. Yes, we're here and I'm sweating like a fat man in a sauna suit. You know, one of those great leisure wear tracksuit sort of things which are designed to make you think that you're losing weight, when in actual fact, you're just becoming extremely dehydrated. One of these things. Yes, one of those things. A great idea if you're a boxer and you have to make the weigh-in, and also a great idea if you want to go to a sauna but it's closed. But essentially, all this is a way to dehydrate yourself. And there's another prefix, D. Now we can see this prefix used in verbs and the like, or added to verbs and the like, to convey, to communicate the idea of down, away and completely. And we can also see this prefix added to verbs and the like to get an idea of removal or reversal. So, for example, we can have the idea of descend, meaning to go down. We have the idea of deduct, meaning to take away from. We have the idea of debone, which is what we do when we remove all of the bones from meat or fish before we cook it. I got into the lift on the 33rd floor and descended to the first floor. We deduct 14% tax before we transfer the money to your account. Preheat the oven to 173.74 degrees centigrade, and while you're waiting for the oven to reach the correct temperature, debone the pig. And I'm sure that all of you spotted another prefix in that bunch of sentences, didn't you? Yes, preheat. Pre meaning before. Before in time, before in place, before in order, before in degree, before in importance. All right, now, one more thing and then we can get started on Enid's vocab. The thing I wanted to highlight was the idea of a weigh-in. All this is an official weighing of something or someone, like, as I used in the example, boxers before a fight. When a boxing match is organized, it's organized so that boxers of the same weight compete against each other. Boxers are categorized into different weight categories. This means that if someone weighs 34 kilos, then they're not ever going to get into the ring with someone who weighs 123 kilos. If two boxers would like to fight each other, then they have to be in the same weight category. If they're not, then they can't fight together. The only weight category where there's no upper limit is the heavyweight category. There, it's possible to have someone who weighs 93 kilos fighting someone who weighs 160 kilos. But for all the other categories, if the boxers don't weigh approximately the same, or if one of the boxers has been eating too many cakes before the weigh-in, then the fight will be cancelled. Each category has a minimum and a maximum weight, and when the boxers meet at the weigh-in, they have to show everyone that their weight is between the minimum and the maximum for that class. Anyway, back to the weigh-in. Boxers have to be very careful with what they eat and how much they weigh. Boxers are obviously looking to find the best combination of muscle and fat. They're looking for the best combination to ensure that when they enter the ring, they've reached their very best combination of speed, strength, stamina and power. So this means that all the time that they're training, they're paying attention to what they eat and drink. But what can they do if something goes wrong? Well, let's suppose that the boxer and his trainers miscalculated. And there's another prefix, mis, meaning wrongly or badly or unsuitably. So, if we assume that the boxer miscalculated and realized a couple of hours before the weigh-in that he's a couple of kilos over the weight class maximum, all that he can do is to get rid of the water in his body to try and reduce his weight so that he will still be allowed to fight. And what's the simplest way of getting rid of water from your body? Yes, the simplest way is to sweat it out. So, go to a sauna and sweat, or put on a sauna suit and run about all over the place. What's the result? Yes, you sweat. The water in your body comes out of the pores in your skin, and as a result, your body becomes dehydrated. Aha! D. Another example of the prefix D. The verb to dehydrate means to cause a person's body to lose a large amount of water. And if the boxer removes the water from his body, then his weight will decrease. It'll go down. After the boxer spends half the day and night in the sauna, it's possible that he'll be able to make the weight. Now, having lost all that water, his weight will be lower than the maximum permitted weight, which means that he can fight. Of course, after the weigh-in, he'll probably drink a few glasses of water. If he starts to fight when he's dehydrated, he'll probably pass out in the first round. All right, enough of all that. Let's have a gander at what we saw and heard from Enid yesterday, shall we? Well, one of the first things that we heard from Enid, and something which sent her into a fit of hysterical giggles, was the word common. Now, this is a very common word. Ha! No, sorry, I'm as bad as Enid, I know. No, let's be serious. Serious faces on. Well, maybe not that serious. Come on, lighten up a little, people. We're meant to be having fun, after all. No smiles, no enjoyment. No enjoyment, no learning. Result, a waste of time. So, wrap a smile around your head and we'll make much better progress. Trust me. Alrighty, the word common has got more than one meaning. For a start, it means something which is prevalent, something we find in large numbers, something which is ordinary, something which is not rare. So, we can talk about common spices. Salt, pepper and paprika, for example. Salt and pepper are common in the UK. In Hungary, however, in addition to salt and pepper, it's common to see paprika on the dining table too. And we can use common when we're talking about animals. Blue whales aren't very common in Europe. One area where we often use the adjective common is when we're talking about someone or something being ordinary. When this thing or person has no special qualities. He's not a sergeant or a general. He's not a member of the SAS or the SBS or the Marines. He's just a common soldier. Now, what was it that Enid thought was so funny? Well, as I'm sure you all remember, I used a phrase, the phrase "as happy as Larry," which is just a British phrase which people use as another way of saying that someone is very happy. Enid said that she'd never heard the phrase before and she asked me if it was a common phrase. Okay, so this means that she's asking if this is a prevalent phrase, whether lots of people use this phrase, if this is a frequently heard phrase. But here's the thing. When I said that it was a common phrase, she explained that that was the reason why it was unfamiliar to her. Now, what she did there was to use a different meaning of the adjective common. In the UK, common is also used to describe people who are from the lower classes. People who are meant to be uncouth and vulgar. In the UK, the Brits often use the adjective common as a synonym for impolite, ill-mannered, ill-bred. A commoner is someone who is ordinary, someone whose family is not connected to the aristocracy or the royal family. So when the Brits use the word common, they sometimes mean it to talk about something which is not rare. There are lots of these things about the place, but if they use it to describe a person's background, then it's quite possible that they're suggesting that this person came from a very proletarian family. They're suggesting that this person doesn't know how to eat and drink properly. This person doesn't know how to behave in polite company. This person isn't refined. This person isn't sophisticated. This person is common. This person comes from a family where everyone is primitive. And that was Enid's joke. She was telling us that she comes from a very good family. She was telling us that her background is not a proletarian background. Her family is not common, and so she doesn't know anything that is common. And that's why she's never heard this phrase. This is a common phrase, but she's not common, so she's never heard it before. That's all the joke is, a play on words. Enid deliberately chose a different meaning of the word common in order to make a joke, a play on words. That's all. Okay, moving on. What else did we hear? Well, connected to the joke, or rather connected to her reaction, I told her that there was no need to milk it. So what do we think about that one? Well, we all know what milk is, don't we? Yes, that's right, cow juice. Okay, so that's the noun milk, but we also have the verb to milk as well. And to milk an animal is to get milk from that animal. Farmers milk cows, and then after that milk has been pasteurized, we drink that milk in our coffee and tea and stuff. Okay, but this is a slightly different idea. We have the idea of milking a cow or a goat or a camel or whatever, but here we're talking about getting the maximum possible advantage from a situation. Imagine two situations. Situation A is the idea that someone sailed around Lake Bollerton in a small boat. Situation B is the idea that George Clooney went off his rocker at the Cannes Film Festival and started running about the place wearing only his pants and socks, screaming like a monkey. Okay, now think about what you would read in the newspapers about those two stories. With situation A, we know that there would be a small piece in the Hungarian newspaper about the boat journey. Possibly there'd be a short report on television too, but only here in Hungary. The media would decide that there's not much they can get out of this story. They can't use this story to sell more and more newspapers or advertising space, can they? All right. But with the second situation, with situation B, the George Clooney story, we have a different kettle of fish, don't we? Yes! This is a dramatic story about a world-famous, super-rich film star. And it's not a normal story. No, it seems as though George has gone off his onion. He's lost his marbles. He's as mad as a box of frogs. He's as nutty as a fruit tree. He's gone doolally. He's crackers. He's gone round the bend. So, with all of these elements, a famous, wealthy film star who's as mad as a box of frogs, the newspapers, the media are obviously going to milk this story for as long as they possibly can. For the next 2 weeks, there will be nothing in the news except reports and comments on George's mental health. You'll turn on your TV and see nothing but stories told about George, told by people who met him once 30 years ago. There'll be psychologists and psychiatrists telling us what we should think about George. There'll be astrologists telling us that George Clooney is a Taurus, and people born under the star sign of Taurus are often as mad as a barrel of bruised bananas. The media will extract every possible advantage they can from this story. They'll milk it until it's dry. They're going to use this story to sell as many newspapers, magazines, films, DVDs, whatevers as possible. They're going to milk this story. They're going to squeeze as much juice as possible out of this story. You know it, and so do I. Okay. Now, connected to this idea, but with a slight twist, is the meaning which I used with Enid. I told her to stop milking it. Same idea, yes, but a different scenario. We often use this meaning when we're talking about actors. Actors sometimes try to provoke a favourable reaction from an audience and then try to extend this. They're trying to get as much applause or ha 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 laughter out of one joke or line as possible. This is them milking it, trying to get as much applause or laughter out of the audience as possible. And that's all the time that we've got for today. Yes, the end of the lesson is approaching fast, and that means that we've got just enough time to say goodbye and turn the lights and the mics off and then get out of the door. So, as you all know, I'm off home for a coffee. And as for you lot, well, have a look about. There must be something that you could do around the house to make things better, surely. Is the dishwasher full? Then turn it on. Is the kitchen a mess? Then clean it up. After that, if you've still got the energy, take the dog for a walk. play ping pong with a cat, practice wall climbing with the sloth, whatever you fancy. I'll see you all tomorrow, and you all know what day tomorrow is, don't you? Yes, that's right, it's not Tuesday. Damned right it's not Tuesday. See you later, people. Have fun. See you tomorrow. www.mediaclick.hu. Bye!